So I'll give you my big picture view on banking, right? Banking is obviously one of the most important bellwethers for the Indian economy. And because our debt markets were under-penetrated, you could still argue are, and equity markets were not the go-to market to raise capital, banks were the core engine for you to drive credit growth. Today, as corporate India develops, there are both the debt market available to investors as well as QIPs and IPOs coming out, which becomes equity market getting raised. So banks, though they are extremely healthy and are in the best cycle of credit growth, may not have the same growth that you saw in the previous cycle. So most of them who basically say my price to book of HDFC Bank was 4.5 in 2015 or 16, and today it is 2.1, and hence it is cheap. I think I'm not looking at this part of the equation around growth. So this 2.1 will look cheap if credit growth comes back. So the more important thing is credit growth coming back. And I think that goes into the next leg of the equation. If consumption is going to get driven, that has to flow through into private capex. And if private capex is going to come through, which is my belief that it will start coming through in another 2 quarters, how is it going to get funded by? That private capex can get funded from three areas rather than one, like what it was in the previous cycle. So banks are important. I'm not saying they're not important, but today every bank has a strong balance sheet. So end of the day, the competitive intensity is also increased. So it then becomes really important. What is the need for you to overweight banks if I can get growth in other areas? So it is not just saying I want to be underweight banks. It is a relative equation because I have 100 rupees to deploy. If I get growth in certain manufacturing or consumption businesses, I might want to underweight bank into this. If I don't get growth, then I might want to bring it back into banks because there is valuation comfort. So the next 3 years, the way I see it, I don't see our portfolio to be structurally overweight banks, but we will own 2 to 3 banks depending on the cycle that we are in. That's our current thought process today.